What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we're going to do something we haven't done for a little while. We're going to take a look at a winning Keyforge deck. Yep, you see there was a Grand Championships that happened in Australia a little while ago, and it was won by Alex Fondran playing, let's just call it C-Digs. Let's call it C-Digs. And although it was a very small Grand Championship as far as things go, it was still a Grand Championships winning deck, and it's a very good deck. It does have an SAS score of 79, is in the top 1% of decks for however much stock you put into that, and it is actually for sale for $200. That's not very much. So let's have a look, shall we? Now, one of the cool things about this is it's got Disc for Disruption and Shadows for Stealing. It is a Call of the Archons deck. These three facts don't surprise us very much at all. But it's also a Sanctum deck. And we don't generally see Sanctum up at the higher levels of these bigger tournaments. So that's kind of cool. Seems like a good place to start. Now, when you're starting in Sanctum, the first card you're looking for is Doorstep to Heaven. We have Doorstep to Heaven. That's very, very important. Each player with 6 or more amber is reduced to 5, and not for nothing, you get an amber bonus at the same time. This is your emergency You Shall Not Forge card. You need a couple of these. No, you don't need them, I suppose, but they're very, very good to have in almost every deck. It's nice that we've got one here. Definitely my favourite of the cards in Sanctum. Now, elsewhere in Sanctum, we got a couple of Commander Ramiel. When you reap, you get to use a non-Sanctum creature. Oh, look. It's house cheating. And this is where we start building up here. Because all of a sudden, we've got a You Shall Not Forge card, and we've got a little bit of house cheating, and it's actually starting to build up quite nicely. We've got Cleansing Wave that lets you heal 1 damage from each creature, and gain 1 for each creature healed this way. So now we've actually got a little bit of Amber Rush going on here as well. We've got Charge for the remainder of the turn. Each creature you play gains play. Deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. And of course, this works out very nicely because, well, you then got Cleansing Wave. Oh, look how that worked out, ladies and gentlemen. We have Inspiration here, lets you ready and use a friendly creature. Oh, look, it's more house cheating. Now, this doesn't have to be house cheating. You can just ready and use a Sanctum creature you've already used, but that's 3 cards here that let you use extra creatures. That's a very good thing. We've got Shield of Justice for the remainder of the turn. Each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage, so that's going to keep you alive pretty gosh darn nicely. We've got Terms of Redress that lets a friendly creature capture 2 amber while giving you an amber bonus. There are 18 bonus amber in this deck, which is pretty gosh darn good. And, in case that wasn't good enough, we've also got Champion to Briss that when she fights, she captures an amber. Oh, yeah, there's some decent capturing. What, you want another one? How about Raiding Knight, where when you play, you capture an amber? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Protect the Weak gives a creature +1 armor and taunt. So you cannot go after the neighbors, you've got to go after it. Although it is also worth pointing out, we also have a Bulwark here. 4 power, 2 armor creature that gives each of its neighbors +2 armor. So that's going to keep the ones you want alive, alive. And all of a sudden, you start to see why this Sanctum list is so good. We've got a bit of Amber Rush, a bit of capturing, a bit of You Shall Not Forge, a bit of protection. It's a very, very nice Sanctum suite, the kind of which we don't see very often. Now, moving over into Shadows, the thing that should jump off the page to you straight away is double Miasma. Miasmas make sure opponents skip their Forge a Key step next turn. And yeah, sure, they can still forge a key using an action card or an ability, but they do not get to forge a key at the beginning of the turn like they usually would. That's a very good thing for you. No, not so much for them. We do also see 2 copies of Poison Wave, gives you an amber bonus, and deals 2 damage to each creature. Obviously, that combos phenomenally with Cleansing Wave, because if there are 10 creatures on the field, assuming none of them get destroyed, Poison Wave deals 2 damage to each, and then Cleansing Wave gains you 1 amber for each one, because it heals your opponent and yourself. So that's pretty good. If you want to have that during the middle of your turn, how about Master Plan? Now, when you play Master Plan, you put a card from your hand face down under it, and then at any time during any turn, you may play the card beneath Master Plan and sacrifice it. So you could do things like stash Cleansing Wave under it for after you've used a Poison Wave. We've got Booby Trap, gives you an amber and deals 4 damage to a creature that is not on a flank, with 2 damage splash. That is 2 damage to each of its neighbours. That's pretty good for cheeky damage. We like cheeky damage. Speaking of cheeky damage, we've also got Seeker Needle that deals 1 damage to a creature, and if it destroys it, you gain an amber. Might I suggest Urchin here? When you play it, you steal an amber, and it's got elusive, but it's a 1-power creature, so you can play it, steal an amber, destroy it with Seeker Needle, and then gain an amber. That could work very nicely. We've also got Special Delivery that lets you sacrifice it, and it's an Omni ability, so regardless of which is your active house, and deal 3 damage to a flank creature. If that flank creature is destroyed, he gets purged. Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty gosh darn good. We've then got Ghostly Hand, because we do expect a little bit of stealing as well, though we've already seen a couple of cards. Gives you a double amber bonus, and if your opponent has exactly 1 amber, you steal it. It's not amazing for stealing, but it can work. Hidden Stash gives you an amber and then just lets you archive a card, lets you save a card for later. Means you can pick it up at the beginning of your next turn. We don't have many archiving cards at all, though there is one more in Dis, we'll get there in a moment. But it also means you've got 1 fewer card in hand, so you draw 1 more at the end of your turn. So that's quite nice. And then we have Nexus, a 3-power, 0-armor creature with elusive, and when you reap, you get to use an opponent's artifact as if it were yours. So you get a bit of artifact cheating there as well. Moving into Dis, we want to get some disruption, and there is, as you might expect in such a good deck, there is some very good disruption. There are 2 copies of Gateway to Dis. When you play it, you destroy every creature on the board. You have to gain 3 chains, but you destroy every creature on the board. We've got Control the Weak that lets you decide which house your opponent has to choose next turn. So if there's something you particularly don't want them to use, you can stop them. If all the cards they've got on board are Mars, make them pick a non-Mars. Fear lets you return an enemy creature to its owner's hand, means they're not going to be using it. And Hysteria lets you return each creature in play to their owner's hand. But then you've got stuff like Urchin and Raiding Knight that have got quite nice coming into play abilities, so you could potentially reuse them using Hysteria. Free Fate doesn't destroy everything, but it does destroy the 3 most powerful creatures on the board, and this might be a good time to stop and go, yeah, the creatures in this deck are not good. You've been looking as we go through, and there's the odd one, like Champion to Briss 6 power 2 armor, yes. But as a whole, this is not a creature deck. This is not a deck with lots of creatures going and smashing. This is a deck that wins with action cards and annoyance and things of that nature. So Free Fate becomes pretty gosh darn nice. Library of the Damned just lets you archive a card. I told you there was another one. So essentially, every time you have a Dis turn, you can archive a card. Life Word is an artifact with an Omni ability and an Amber bonus, and you can sacrifice it on whichever turn you like, and your opponent is not allowed to play creatures on their next turn. But if you want to stop your opponent playing stuff, how about Ember Imp, which limits your opponent to only playing 2 cards during their turn. That's going to get annoying. And speaking of imps, we've got Dust Imp here. When Dust Imp is destroyed, you gain 2 amber. But bearing in mind you've got 2 copies of Gateway to Dis. It is a 2-power creature and you've got 2 copies of Poison Wave. It's a 2-power creature and you've got Seeker Needle. let's just say there are plenty of ways that you've got of destroying Dust Imp. You can just make it fight your opponent's creatures and have it destroyed that way, but you've got plenty of ways here to get rid of it. We've then got 2 weirdly powerful creatures to finish off. Shula is a 5-power creature, and if your opponent has 4 or more amber, you steal 1. It's not an amazing amber stealing card, but it's not terrible. And then we've got Pit Demon, whereby it's got an action that steals an amber. So a couple of moderately powerful creatures with fairly decent amber control. This is a good deck. Now, it's not good with creatures, and it's not great for fighting. There are only 11 creatures. The average deck has 17. And a lot of the creatures are quite weak. Stuff like Urchin and Ember Imp and Dust Imp and all of that. But it doesn't really need creatures like that. You've got lots of options for getting rid of your opponent's creatures and wrecking their board. And then you've just got lots of other options in terms of amber control, getting cheeky amber, all kinds of fun stuff. Suffice to say, ladies and gentlemen, this is a deck that's got some legs. But right now, I'd like to know what you think about it, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Keyforge and a whole bunch of other games, and please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some weekly bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.